on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackowitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is a review for Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 2. This was exactly what it needed to be. I think it was really a cool choice, you know. Already your second episode out of only 6, nobody's dead yet. But what this episode did was let you know that the shit is about to hit the fan in some major ways. But it also created the stakes that you need. And that's a very important part, and I'm going to get into that in a second. It starts right away with Jaime in front of Daenerys. Of course, the Starks are pissed off at him for what he did. Daenerys swore to kill the man that killed her father. So there's a debate about what they're going to do. Brienne steps up and says, you know what? If it wasn't for me, none of us would really be in this situation right now. And she looks at Sansa and says, if it wasn't for Jaime, I wouldn't be here protecting you. He came back for me when I was in trouble, and then he swore an oath and he kept that oath. And it's because of that that you were alive. And so Sansa begrudgingly kind of says, okay, well, I trust Brienne, so if she says Jaime's good, then Jaime's good. Dany turns to Jon. Jon simply says, we need all the hands we can get. And so that's where they leave it. Jaime's getting a pass for now, which I thought was kind of good. Really cool. Next, you get Arya. She's talking to Gendry while he's making weapons, about the weapon that she wanted. And in order to get him to kind of kickstart her weapon, she demonstrates with some blades exactly how good she is. She's throwing him into this wood beam all at the same spot. And she's like, make my weapon. And so Gendry does. And you can still see the flirting there going on. Jaime walks up to Bran and apologizes for pushing him out the window and, you know, telling Bran that he's not the same person anymore. Bran, being kind of distant that he is, he said you didn't really mind it at the time. But there was a quote here in the conversation that really made me like, oh. And I've said from the beginning, I think Jaime's going to die. I don't have anything to base that on. I stayed away from scripts. I don't like spoilers. I want to be surprised with everybody else. But I think of the Lannisters, it just makes sense that Jaime is going to be the one to go, unfortunately. I hope that's not the case, but I think it's going to be the case. And Bran says something Jaime made a comment about after the war, you know, and Bran says, what makes you think there's going to be an afterwards? And that right there was just like, it kind of sealed the deal for me. So then you get Jaime and Tyrion, and they're talking about Dany, and, you know, Jaime's asking Tyrion if he thinks that Dany is really, you know, who she makes herself out to be. And they have a conversation about that, and then Jaime kind of moves away from Tyrion, goes to talk to Brienne, and kind of humbles himself in front of her. You know, she's expecting him to make fun of her and be an asshole, and instead he asks her for a spot in her guard because she's taking the left guard during this battle that they know is imminent. And so, yeah, he's asking for a spot in her command, which I thought was really a cool reversal of roles. Then you get Jorah advising Dany on Tyrion, and they're talking at first how Tyrion kind of took Jorah's position while Jorah was in trouble. And Jorah says, you know, Dany should really forgive Tyrion because even though he's made some mistakes, he's still one of the best minds there is. And so he also says he has another piece of advice for Dany, and that's when you cut to Dany walking up to Sansa, and they're trying to make peace with each other. And everything is going good. Dany kind of says that, you know, Jon made her fall in love with him, and she came all the way up north for Jon, and kind of establishing what's going on. And then Sansa says, well, what happens when you take the Iron Throne? What about the north? We have sworn to not have any rulers, and that's where things kind of fall apart again between the two. Then you got Davos. he's feeding some civilians that are getting ready for this war, and they're just regular people, scared shitless, and he's trying to encourage them. And there was this one really cute part where there was this little girl saying she wanted to fight, and Gilly stepped in and said that, she'd need protection with the kids that she's watching. And so that was kind of cool. Cute little moment there. After that, you have Eastwatch gang. They all show up at Winterfell. You have some guys from the Night's Watch come over from Castle Black, and then everybody from Eastwatch, Tormund and Beric Dondarrion. And at first Jon sees, the crows, and he goes and walks up to them and gets cut off with a tackle hug by Tormund. So that was kind of funny. And I gotta say, man, they're doing a really good job with Tormund in the earlier parts. And I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to tell you why. Then you have a war council because, everybody that just showed up from Eastwatch let them know that the Night King and the army of the dead are very close to Winterfell. And so he's saying before morning, really. So now you know the war is imminent. It's coming. And they're having a council. And the biggest thing from this is Bran decides that he's going to use himself as bait to lure out the Night King. Because the idea here is that the Night King falls and that all the other walkers fall once he dies. He's the one that created them. He dies, everybody else dies. Which we've kind of seen in previous episodes. You kill one of the big, whites, and then the walkers around him just die. So that's kind of cool the way they're doing that. Bran being used as a live bait. I think he's going to die next week. Maybe with Jaime. But either way, that's what's going on. And then he needed some protectors. And Theon steps up. Theon with the Ironborn. And he looks at Bran and he says, once I took the castle from you, now let me help you defend it, And so it was kind of a cool moment there. Not only are they completely forgiving Jaime for what he's done, but also Theon for what he's done. Then you get Grey Worm and Missandei. There's a little clip where they're talking to each other outside of Winterfell, and they're talking about plans about what happens after the war. And it was actually kind of a cool moment. You get a couple of the lesser characters, and you're kind of touching on some side story here. In Grey Worm, after the war, he wants to be done with everything. He wants to be done with fighting. He doesn't want to stay as a guard forever for Dany. He's like, I'm going to serve my purpose for what I was commissioned to do, but we're free people now, and I don't want to be there. And so he asks Missandei what she would like to do, and she's like, I would like to go to Noth. And he says, well, I'll take you there. And she's like, well, my people aren't fighters. We have no way of protecting ourselves. And Grey Worm says, well, my people are fighters. We will protect you. So apparently Grey Worm plans on it being more than just him as far as any of the soldiers that want to leave. So I think that's pretty interesting. Then you get you're getting late into the night. Everybody's expecting this war. They know it's coming. So Tyrion and Jaime are having a conversation. And it was actually kind of a cool moment. I don't remember exactly what the words were, but Tyrion says something about to the detriment of becoming better people, because Tyrion and Jaime are both trying to better themselves, but it's also costing them too. And after that, Podrick and Brienne show up, then Davos, then Tormund. And some really cool moments come from this. You cut away, and you have Arya talking to the Hound up on the wall of Winterfell, and they kind of establish that they're, kind of at peace with each other. Beric Dondarrion shows up, so Arya leaves the two old bastards alone, and then goes and talks to Gendry. And this is a part of the show where a lot of people, apparently, I don't know, man, it really shows how bad most people's hangups are when it comes to this kind of shit. So Arya starts talking to Gendry about the Red Woman and all the women he's been with, and then really makes a forceful advance on Gendry. She said, we'd both probably be dead tomorrow, I want to know what it's like to have sex with someone. And so that's what she does. She um, kind of tackles Gendry with a kiss. Clothes come off. She pushes Gendry down. They get it on. And, you know, I didn't have the hang-ups everybody else did. Yes, she started the show very young. Yes, she looks young. She's 22. I don't care. Um, it was funny, though, because I'm watching the show with my girlfriend and her mom, and they start getting it on, and they're both like gasping, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Dude, I seen that coming. Like anybody could have seen that coming if you pay attention." Like to me, it was obvious that it was about to happen, but it was kind of a cool moment. It was nice to see Arya and Gendry, find somebody, but find them each other. I thought that was very cool. You go back to the group with Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, Pod, Davos, and Tormund, and there's a conversation. Tormund really doesn't understand why Brienne is not a knight, and she's trying to explain to him that she's a woman, and in their society, women can't be knighted. She says it's tradition, and Tormund says fuck tradition, and Jaime looks back. Tormund makes a comment about if I was king, I would make you a knight. And Jaime says, you don't have to be a king to be a knight. A knight can make a knight. And so he literally tells Brienne to come over and kneel, and he plans on knighting her. And so she kind of glances around a couple people. Pod nods at her, Jaime nods at her, and she goes over there, and he literally knights her and makes her a knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And you really see the emotion on Gwendolyn Christie's face during this. It was a really good performance. You know, you can see she's choked up. She's got tears in her eyes, you know, lip quiver and all that. But it was really cool. So she stands up. Everybody else there applauds, and it was very cool. And it's just a really good moment. It really was a cool moment. You know, you see how Gwendolyn Christie really, her character really looks up to Jaime. You know, Brienne and Jaime have had this checkered past, but they've had this bond for quite a while. And you do kind of get the feeling like Brienne is in love with Jaime. And so it was a big moment there. And then after that, you get a clip where Sam, well, first of all, Jorah is talking to Lady Mormont, and, you know, he's trying to convince her not to fight with everybody else, and she says, I'm going to fight. Sam kind of shows up, apologizes. She says, it's okay, this conversation is over. Wishes Jorah good fortune. And then Sam says that he wants Jorah to take his family sword because he really can't wield it. It's too big, too heavy for him. It's too awkward. And so Jorah, you know, graciously takes Sam's sword. After that, Podrick, still around the group where Brienne was just knighted, Tyrion says, we could use a song. Asked if anybody knows the song. Pod starts singing, and the actor, I don't remember his name offhand, has a really good singing voice. And so he's singing, and you're doing cutaways to everybody. You see Sansa talking with Theon, and Arya laying with Gendry. Pretty cool. And then you get to the crypts where Jon finally tells Dany what he found out last episode, which is that he is really Aegon Targaryen, and Dany's response wasn't very good. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be, but, you know, she's like, you're getting this information from your brother and your best friend, and doesn't this give you, like, a better claim to the throne? And she's getting really angry about it. And before they could really hash it out, the horn sounds 3 times, and the war is now here. You see the dead show up at Winterfell's Edge. Everybody's prepping for war. It's about to happen, and that's where they hit the credits. You kind of knew that's what was going on, but this was the perfect episode because there was so much in this episode that made you care about the characters. It made you care about Jaime. It made you care about Brienne. It made you care about Arya and Gendry and everything that's going on. And next episode, it is going to smack you in the face. A lot of people are going to die, and I think some big names are going to die next week. Like, this is it. This is the war with the Night King. So, I mean, as much as you hate to say it, some of that was probably built up and getting you emotionally attached to these characters and these situations to crush you. Because next week, people gonna die. That's just how it's gonna go. And thankfully, they don't shy away from that. One of the things George Martin said is that he wants his stories to be true to what life is. And that's it. In these situations, people you care about are gonna die. So, that's where we're at. I mean, this show did exactly what it needed to do, I think. It really did. You have this situation now where you really are invested, you really care, and then you're just, next week is going to crush a lot of people. So it was very, very, very good, I thought. I'm going to give this one a strong 9 out of 10, I think. Like, this did exactly what it needed to do to prep you for what's coming next. Because we all know what's coming next. So, amazing show. I really love the way they did everything here. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.